Welcome to Simply Sheppey, your community podcast which aims to create and enhance connections within the community to build a better Sheppey.
Hello and welcome to Carol Sheridan. Carol has been a member of Sheppey Rocks, a community project that aims to bring delight to all of those who live and visit the island. She's also involved in several other projects, all of which I'm hoping she will tell us about now. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
No problems. I'm quite excited about this one. I've seen all the beautiful things about around the island that have been cropping up, and I'm quite excited for you to tell us about them. But before we go into that, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and what your relationship to the island is?
Well, I moved here 11 years ago from Maidstone and instantly fell in love with the island. I just find people so friendly here. I've always been interested in arts and crafts. That's always been my hobby. And I think probably I've done the majority of crafts that you could think of. I started rock painting 3 years ago and had never even heard of it. I found 2 rocks on my wall, painted by children. And on the back it said, please post a picture on Sheppey Rocks, which I did. And the person who saw that post said, I'd had my grandchildren over for the afternoon. We painted the rocks, we left them. And she was so thrilled that I'd put a picture on and posted it. And I thought, well, that's something I could do. So that's actually how I got involved with painting rocks.
Okay, so other people were doing it and it inspired you. I love that.
Oh, yeah. Yes, definitely. And I think it's because it's such a range. You don't have to be an artist. So many people say, I couldn't do that, I can't draw. But, 2 dots and a curve makes a smiley face. That's all you need.
Yeah, we were chatting, weren't we, about the different kind of rocks and how you can sort of just make a pattern or with zigzag lines, or just paint it and put some polka dots on it, and that makes a pattern, doesn't it?
That's right. And sometimes just a simple word like smile or hope or you're strong, that's all it needs. And sometimes when you've hidden them in sight, don't hide them so people can't find them, somehow the right person seems to find them and they say, I've just come out of the hospital, I saw your stone that said hope and I'm going to hang on to it. So it really does mean something to some people. That's
really important. This Sheppey Rocks idea, though, has sort of blossomed recently, hasn't it? Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yes, well, actually, rock painting started in America. It is really now worldwide. Someone called Pippa Yates actually started Sheppey Rocks. And I think it's something that just snowballed. People find a rock, they can either re-hide it, some of them keep it. And I understand some people don't want to join a group just to put a rock on, but it's so nice when you've painted a rock and then you see someone's found it and they've taken the trouble to post a picture of it. And then they say, oh, I can do that, or I might have a go at that, or I've got children coming, they're on half term, oh, I think we can do that. And obviously rocks are so easy to find, please don't take them off the beach. But just a stone, just a little stone that size, you can paint something on.
Yeah, so that's about 1 inch you showed us there, wasn't it? Yeah, and some of them are bigger. And do they need, I'm assuming they need to be sort of a smooth surface?
Yes, one size of my hand.
Okay, that's a pretty smooth surface.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so you can just draw on it, base coat it, any sort of paint. I often use tester pots. They're quite cheap, £1 something, can last a long time. Acrylic paints, felt tip pens, that's fine.
So does the felt tip pens last?
They will last. They are better if you can varnish them. You can buy spray varnish quite cheap. I must admit, if they're out in the elements and it rains, they don't last so long, the felt tip pens. But the ones that have been painted on, especially acrylic paints, and you can buy a tube of acrylic paint in Poundland for £1, and they last literally ages. So it's quite a cheap hobby, really.
Okay. And it's not just a hobby, I think the kids will love it, because the kids will love the idea of leaving them around the place and knowing that somebody will pick it up. I think it introduces them to the idea of community and the idea of giving back and things like that, doesn't it?
Yes, that's right. If you tell the children why they're doing it and explain that, we're leaving it here, and it'll be nice if someone else finds it, but, don't get upset if they don't post a picture on the site. Just know someone's found it and is happy with it. You can obviously re-hide it again. Just take a picture where it is. I know with COVID, not everybody wants to pick up a rock they don't know where it's come from, and I fully appreciate that. But if you could just take a picture and post it on whichever groups are everywhere now, literally everywhere, and just say you found the rock, that'd be lovely.
Well, if you post it on any of the Sheppey rocks, if you post it on any of the Isle of Sheppey groups on the Facebook, somebody will ultimately share that post to Sheppey Rocks anyway, wouldn't they? Usually,
yes, that's right.
Somebody will spot it.
Yes, yeah. And there are several groups that cover the whole of England, if you like, and you can just post on there, found this, it belongs to Sheppey Group, I'm not a member, can someone put it on there for me? And generally they find their way to the right group.
Okay. You make your own rocks, don't you?
Yes, I do.
How does that work?
Well, I use a silicone cake mould,
Okay.
and then I either use quick dry cement or I use tile adhesive. It's a heart-shaped stone.
Oh wow, and that's got a really glossy finish as well. And I might need a picture of that to put with our podcast, if that's okay.
That's fine. That's been resined, not varnished. It's a special resin, and that will last forever outside.
Is the resin harder wearing than the varnish?
Yes, and it is more expensive if you're just doing stones with children as a one-off. Probably not best to buy the resin, and it's very sticky and very messy. If you get it in your hair, you'll have to cut your hair because it does not come out, but it is very good to put on rocks and does look lovely.
Yeah, that would look beautiful. But if you make your own, so these silicone molds, do you make the silicone molds or do you buy them?
No, I buy them. They're just cake molds, and you can buy them anywhere.
Goodness me, the thought of putting cement mix into a cake mold is I'm finding it difficult to compute that at the moment, but it does give you such a variety of different things that you can do, doesn't it?
Yes, that's right. Well, you can get the shapes. We've got the heart shape. I've got round moulds, if I'm allowed, but I will show you. That's another mould.
I love that one. If for those of you listening on the radio, it's a picture of the back of two ladies in bikinis on the beach, and it is absolutely lovely on a sunset.
Yeah,
yeah, it's quite a large one. That one.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. So they're all different shapes. That's just the back. Just leave it plain.
Okay.
So yeah.
Brilliant. So these rocks are going to be part of a display for Queenborough in Bloom, aren't they?
Yes, that's right. That came about because someone on Sheppey Rocks posted a picture, and actually it was 3 pictures, and I'd seen it somewhere else. Another council had given the rock group a space, and it was a snake, a spiral, and a rainbow. And they just said, wouldn't it be nice if Sheppey Rocks could do that? Well, I left it a couple of days and no one came forward, and I thought, I'd really like to do that. And that's how that started. I emailed the councillor and asked, had they got a special place that we could use, preferably behind a fence, because unfortunately stones do get moved if they're just out in the open. And they said yes. I was put in touch with the chairman of Queenborough and Rushenden in Bloom, and we met. She said it was a lovely idea and they'd do anything to help. And that was it. I just put it all out on the community Queenborough and Rushenden sites, and it's been fantastic. The response I've got is absolutely fantastic.
So you've put a call out for painted stones and for Wellington boots for some reason.
Yes, that was an afterthought actually. The Wellington boots are going to frame the actual display I'm going to do. So
Okay.
I've asked people either for Wellington boots, and that's been a lovely response. I've found a few spiders inside them, but we've dealt with that. Or I've asked people to paint flowers on them, and the idea is, if I can do it, is to plant flowers in the welly boots so that they bloom. Obviously, it's an in bloom theme. Whether that will come off, I'm not quite sure, but that's the idea.
But just in case, you're painting them, aren't you? So that they're still beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of the Sheppey rocks are coming from Oasis Academy, I believe.
Yes, they really are coming from anywhere. The local school has got involved, and they are well, they promised me 200 rocks, which is absolutely
It's
fantastic.
phenomenal, yeah.
The local lady from the local scout group rang me up and said they'd like to help. So yes, it's been really good, and it's nice. More people handy printed off some posters free, and people have seen that and they've rung me up and said, "Oh, I'd like to help. What can I do?" So it's grown.
I saw a post the other day on one of the Facebook groups saying, I've got some rocks. I need to donate them, but I don't know where to." And somebody else posted a picture of the Sheppey Rocks poster, and I'm like, yeah, it's everywhere now. It's become a real community thing that people are rallying around, and I think it's tapped into people's sense of pride, hasn't it? It's people's sense of pride in the community, people's sense of wanting to contribute, to know that they've made a difference, to know that they've made people happy.
Yes, that's right. And I think people have actually painted a rock that have not painted before. And I collected some from a lady, and she said, "Oh, they're really not very good." They were. It's a shame, I don't think people realise what talent they've got. They were lovely rocks, and even if it was a squiggle, it would have been lovely anyway.
Yeah.
The fact that she's done it. Someone rang me up yesterday and said they were tidying their daughter's bedroom and come across a box of rocks. I actually posted a picture of it on Sheppey Rocks yesterday, and I don't know how long they'd been there. They were quite worn. And I thought, well, if someone recognises that they've actually painted them, that'd be lovely.
Yeah. And they can say, somebody's kept it for all that time, and and they've loved them. So that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So is this the only project that you're involved in, or are there other projects across the island?
I not rock related, but I do run a group for ladies. It's not
Okay.
very well known.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Dolly Mixtures.
Right.
It's been running for 3 years, and it's for ladies that are over 60. We do keep it quite small. We have had up to 20 ladies. We've only got 12, so we are opening up. And we just meet for lunch twice a week. One at the Working Man's Club, one at any local pub we can find that can take a group. We do craft mornings. We go to the theatre. We go on walks. We've been down to Butlins for a 70s weekend.
Ooh. Ladies on tour.
I'm not going to show you the pictures of those.
Oh, now we're all going to miss out.
So yeah, and up to a little while ago, my little dog was a pet therapy dog, and we visited the schools and the care homes in Sheppey.
Oh, lovely. I didn't realise that was a scheme. So you have been really involved with things. Why Dolly? What's the name of it? Sorry.
Dolly Mixtures.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. We actually had an awful lot of names. I think Dolly's because it's associated perhaps with ladies, and we're just a mixture of people, but we're really friendly. That's why we keep it small, so we can keep it friendly.
That makes sense. I wondered if it was because you were sweet and sugary and colourful.
Possibly.
Like a bag of sweets. But yeah, so we've talked about the posters, so give us a little bit more of an idea about how we get involved with these projects, or specifically with Sheppey Rocks.
Well, Sheppey Rocks is a Facebook site, so anybody can just look for Sheppey Rocks and ask to join, as with most rock painting groups. So I think that's initially, and it's very much sort of an individual thing you know, you can do it in groups, and it's lovely if people get together and have a painting afternoon. I know people do that, but it's something you can do on by yourself as well. You know, I spend quite a happy couple of hours painting rocks. So that's really how to do it, and then people post what they've painted, um, or the fact that they've hidden it, and it just keeps you in touch. You start to recognise names. Oh yes, I know that lady. I get to know how she paints. So although we might not actually know each other socially, it's still a community thing that you're doing.
Yeah, so you can paint the rocks in your own house and then go and hide them yourself,
Yeah,
and then just post that you've done it on the Facebook site, and then you've got something that you write on the back, don't you? Sort of, this is a Sheppey rock. Please post on the webpage, don't you, on Facebook?
yeah, yes. You write Sheppey Rocks or whichever rock group you might belong to. Um, I generally just put an F and a B. Most people know that's Facebook. Please post a picture, keep or re-hide. And
Okay.
I mean, you can't get it on the very tiny rocks, but generally you can write that on the back of a rock. Mhm.
Okay. And that's wonderful that you can just get on with it. And then if you wanted to contribute to the Creamber in Bloom display, they can either apologies, arrange to have them picked up, or they can drop them off, can't they?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I'm happy to collect them. I know some people haven't got transport, and it's local to me, so that's fine. Um, but if you wanted to drop them off to me as well, that's fine. You know, whichever, and whether you've got one rock or a pile of rocks, it's lovely. It's all welcome. All be used.
So what we'll do at the end of the podcast is we'll give out the phone number or the email address that you'd like people to use to contact you to arrange that.
Okay, fine.
So I think that this Sheppey Rocks thing demonstrates a love for the Isle of Sheppey. So do you agree with that? And if so, what are your favourite things about the Isle of Sheppey?
Oh yes, and I've certainly got to know the Isle of Sheppey as I go round and either hide rocks or collect rocks. That's been lovely. Well, the first thing that struck me when I come on to Sheppey was how friendly everybody was. The second day I moved in, I walked to the bus stop. There were two ladies standing there, and they just joined me in their conversation. And where I lived before, that never happened. So that was nice. I like the fact that you can always find a tradesperson on the island. I have so far, and I've lived here quite a few years. Um, I just love you've got the beach, obviously, you've got open spaces. I love the way a lot of the houses, a lot of the roads, the housing is different. So you might have a bungalow, a detached house, a semi-detached house, a different style of bungalow. I've always loved that of Sheppey, and I'll often sort of just have a drive round the roads just to have a look at the different houses. I really do like that.
There is, and then of course, you have houses, marsh, houses, beach. I love that about the Isle of Sheppey as well. It's just, you've got all of these different houses, but then you've got all of these different landscapes as well that you just stumble across. I mean, I can walk out my back door and be in marshland in about 5 seconds. It's great. So what do you think that the Isle of Sheppey needs to do to be a better place to live?
Well, I have to be honest and say I think Sheerness High Street looks very tired. I know it's been difficult with COVID, and I haven't been in there for over a year, so obviously the shops are shutting. Well, I think the High Street is just perhaps a lick of pain. The pavements are all over the place. I've actually fallen twice, tripping over pavement.
So that's a worry. That is.
Yeah, yeah. So that's one of the things, and I also think perhaps coming onto the island, that looks tired as well. I know there's building works going on, and you can't stop progress, but just to cut back all the hedging and everything, especially now it's spring and everything started to grow, just to invite the visitors, just so it looks nice for people and inviting when they come onto the island
and pick up all the litter.
Yeah.
That was a conversation I've had on a previous podcast. So you've been on the island for 11 years. Has it changed much since you moved here, or?
Oh yes, definitely. Well, more houses straight away. And I know there's a need for housing, whether it's social housing or private housing. But the island wasn't built to take all the traffic that goes with it.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, when I moved here, the family across the road had one car. Their two children have grown up. There's now three cars, and you can't help it. But it's where do you park it?
Exactly.
Park
Yeah.
the cars, yeah. So that's definitely changed.
Well, and also if there were more public transport, perhaps the older children might not need a car for a while. If they were working on the island, they could be
That's right.
taking the bus.
Yeah,
But there
yeah,
isn't any, is there, of course?
yeah. So, yes, I mean, all my children have grown up, so I don't really know about whether there's any youth clubs for the children or whether they, would want to go it. But I think there's groups for mainly ladies, perhaps not so much for the men, unfortunately. So do we need more youth clubs? Then obviously you need the people to run it and to make it inviting so the teenagers want to go.
You have to make it relevant to them, don't you? You can't just say, right,
Yeah,
you're going here on a Friday afternoon, and they go, and it's not something they're interested in. I completely
no,
agree, because they'll just stay at home, or they'll go out on the streets, because obviously
yeah,
there's
that
been.
yeah that and that's what teenagers do. What we used to, I used to do. You gather in groups,
Yeah.
and that's fine. But it'd be nice to have something more constructive for them. It'd be nice if we could get a group of teenagers together and actually ask them what they would like.
I love that idea. Rather than tell them what they have to do, ask them
Yeah,
what would help, and then of course then you know that you are providing them with something that they would actually want to do.
that's the way to go to. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So an awful lot of things to think about, some ways to contribute back to the community, and maybe some things to think about moving forward. So thank you so much for joining me today, Carol. I think
You're
that
welcome.
your Sheppey Rocks, you were initially inspired by the Sheppey Rocks, and I think other people are being inspired by what you're doing now as well. And remember, to all of you who are listening, if you have a story to tell like Carol, or if you want to be a co-host, or if you want to give us a hand with some editing, this is your podcast. Get involved, get in touch. We're at simplysheppey@gmail.com, and we're also on Facebook at Simply Sheppey. Carol, how to get involved with Sheppey Rocks, just before we go, what's the phone number?
Well, if you'd like to get in touch with me, my phone number is 07394 660 955.
Lovely.
And they can ring me and I will collect stones or help them with rock painting in any way I can.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, Carol.
Okay.